the live button, waving at the audience. Hey, everybody, welcome to Leaders Living Their Values. We are streaming live on Clubhouse. That's where the voice comes from. And then we are also going on social media to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And so it's about, questions and thoughts, and more importantly, just living your values as a leader out loud. And Raj, you really brought up a great point. So for those, oh wait, if you're on social media, let me share with you. This is where the sound comes from. So it's from my iPad, and Raji Sethi is going to be sharing. And he said something right before I turned on the live stream, and that was, you would rather not be asked than politely say no.
That's right.
Tell me about that, because I'm sorry, you'd rather not be asked, so you don't have to. And I think I want to. I think I'm the opposite. I think I want to be invited, and politely say yes or no, depending on how it feels.
Correct. It's a cost, Mitchell. Basically, saying no has a cost to it.
Saying no has a cost, yes.
Because what happens is not everybody takes a no very gracefully. They will say, they think I'm saying no because there is this, I call it the assumption of readiness, where most people are wrong. They think they're ready when they're not. So to burst their bubble, if I say that these are the things they are not ready, and then they will try to prove to me that I'm not seeing it right. Let me tell you how I am ready. When I know clearly that they are not ready, and all the things that I have to tell them that why they are not ready is a cost to me.
Oh, that's interesting.
So typically, the people get help if they ask right and they're ready for it. So they have to deserve before they can desire. But instead, people demand. Forget about desire. They think they demand because they think it's their entitlement.
That's fascinating. You're right. People do feel. Oh, that's interesting. So you're thinking, and I'm trying to think about the people when somebody approaches you and asks that they might have as an expectation, they feel like they're entitled.
Oh, exactly. Because people don't. First of all, there are so many places where if they're not deep into philosophy, they can mistake for many things. They can think that your incremental cost of helping them is the total cost. Already they're wrong, because somebody like you, people come to you and say, I want to write a book. And then give me 3 things that I should think about. You will say this in a snap. They say, do this, do this, do this. If they attribute the help that you provided costed you only 3 minutes, then they're totally wrong. It's all the work that you did until that exact moment in time, plus add those 3 minutes. Real value.
That's fascinating. I actually, I could take that in a slightly different direction, which is interesting. So, I love creating this thing called a CPOP. CPOP stands for, and by the way, Raji Sethi is the human that changed what CPOP stands for. So, Rajesh, thank you again publicly. Because what happened is we came up with I've done this 1,000 times. And I used to always call it a customer point of pain. But then I'd say, well, it's not really pain. It could be pain or customer point of pleasure. It really is. It's that purpose. It's that 3-second elevator pitch. And the one that you and I, we did a live video session. The one you and I came up with for you was game changers wanting their secret sauce, which I love, by the way. Just like when people hear that, I just let the mic drop and they go, oh, wow, that is so cool. I want that. Right. And And so here's what you did when you came to me and you said, "Hey, Mitchell, I don't care what you call it, but I'm calling it the customer point of possibilities."
Exactly.
And you know, it's so interesting. I might have done this. I mean, yeah, probably close to 1,000 times calling it that name. And sometimes somebody comes along and they just give an idea that is so. I'm like, okay, done. I'm with you. I'm going to call it that as well. So
it is one of those like very subtle to observe, significant in experience moments when you said, when you publicly thanked me, which I'm very grateful for. I'm not expecting it, but you always do it because your self-esteem and everything is so intact that you generously acknowledge somebody else helping.
oh,
Most people will take it and write it. We both know enough people who will just take this and then make it their own without giving any credit, because they think if I actually give this person credit, then I become less than what I should be, which is not true. You didn't lose anything by giving me credit. So, but most people don't think that. They think it's a zero-sum game. I've done thousands of this. How can somebody else tell me that I should change? No, I think I will not accept it. So, in the sense, when they do that, they lose the future opportunities to grow. They'll just, because the person knows, whoever you didn't give the credit to, he knows or she knows, and they'll silently think, you know what, I know what to tell or what not to tell. But they'll never publicly announce it. They'll never say, oh, Mitchell, you should have given me credit. You didn't. This is not what we're going to do, because it will be waste of time.
So by the way, we have a nice following on LinkedIn, and I just dropped your name and tagged you. And what we're talking about is the simplicity of what I call that, you know, that word I created called cred dust. Cred dust is that magic that happens, that sparkle that happens when you share somebody else's ideas, thoughts, and actions.
Beautifully said. Yeah, I would really want to call it cred pixie dust.
cred pixie dust. Yeah. Oh, hi, Shusmaf here from India. I'm glad you could join us. Uh, It it's yeah, you know, some people do want to add the pixie dust, and I just wanted a word, so I picked up actually in LinkedIn. I put the URL. It's credust.com, and
Oh, beautiful.
and so I made it because I want that to go into the dictionary. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we do this, right? I mean, good speakers do it all the time. You know, people who are part of being credible is showing respect. And
Correct.
one of the ways you show respect is by sharing your stage.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So you got me. The reason I went down this path, you got me thinking about something. And I'm gonna let me share something that will take about a minute or two, and there'll be two different directions. You could decide which way we want to go. And thank you for that. And by the way, if you're watching the stream on anything other than listening on Clubhouse, feel free to come over to the Clubhouse room and join us on audio there. And if you'd like to actually join on video, let me know, and I could send you the link for that as well. And what we're talking about is just leaders living their values and making a difference. And so this construct called that CPOP, that customer point of possibilities, and I just shared mine. Leaders living their values and making a difference is mine. And I have helped over 1,000 people now get their CPOP. So, Raj, here are two interesting statistics. Of the 1,000 people, 100 people or 10% do something with it. So 90% forget it or lose it within 2 hours to 2 weeks. And we could talk about that.
I would like to talk about it because I know exactly why this is happens.
Oh, good. Oh, well, I'll drop the other bomb. And then, actually, I'll just say the other thing because I'm okay with it. So, of the 10%, 10% actually give me credit. The other 90%. So 10 people say, "Oh, Mitchell, thank you for that. This is great," and they'll remember it the rest of their lives because this is so profound that way. And of the 90, they'll own it themselves. And let me just say, I really mean this from my heart. I'm okay with that. If I could work with somebody and completely change their lives and then they own it and move forward with it, I'm very happy with that.
Correct.
Okay. You know this because Rajesh, you live the same way.
Yes.
So,
And in fact, we both should factor that in so that we don't even feel anything. Just like how you said, you're okay with it. It's already factored in. So if there is a community of 100 people, usually we both know, Mitchell, that only 1% of them, 1 or 2 of them actually are very active contributing. Most of the people are lurking. And we should be okay with it. So that way there is no confusion. Shall I tell you why this happens? Did a deep study on it.
By the way, I have my own opinions, and I am so interested in hearing yours. Yes, please.
The difference between the quest to know more versus quest to grow more, that is the biggest difference.
Oh.
So what happens is that years ago, let's say a few decades ago, if you wanted to know more, what should happen? You had to go to the library. You should go and search for whichever topic it is. You go and find a book and you have to read it. The cost to know more was very high. Isn't it? So that cost to know more kept coming down, and even right now it's almost zero. Because if you wanted to study something from Stanford, you don't have to necessarily go to Stanford, because if you go to Stanford and enroll, it still costs a lot of money. And you enroll for the community, like the alum network and all, not to study, because study is easy, because there are so many courses that are already free. In fact, MIT has given so many of their courses complete recordings for free. So that's the cost is literally zero. But to grow more is the cost has gone exorbitantly high. I call it the need for playgrounds, which are very expensive. So what do I mean by it? What I say is that for you to grow, you have to act. So accumulating insights will make you know more. Putting those insights into implementation will make you grow more. But there's a lot of friction to put those insights into implementation, because that's where all the friction is, because you are not comfortable. You just cannot, there's not enough context to go and use those insights. Let's say you are studying about negotiation. There should be enough opportunities, enough playgrounds to go and negotiate. If you're selling one product, there's only so many negotiation opportunities. So to grow, you need to act, but there's not enough places to act. It's because when you act, it's not one, let's say, negotiating with a Japanese woman online is very different from negotiating with an Indian person offline. So many different variations. Map is not the territory. So you end up just feeling good, that a phantom feeling that you are growing. No, you are just knowing more. So people will get lulled into thinking they're growing when they're only becoming knowledge hoarders.
So what is it? How do you change? How do you transition? Like, what is it that people need to do to move from a knowledge hoarder? Like, so let's say they're growing, but then they're not. Is it because they're not applying it? They're not using it? They're not sharing it? What is it that's happening?
So first is to recognize that this subtle difference between knowing more and growing more. Because in general, people who are knowing more confuse themselves to think that they are growing more. Why? Because let's say they spend 1 hour with you, Mitchell. They learn about the publishing business. And then somebody else is asking a question about publishing. It so happens that you had told them something about it. And they say, I remember Mitchell telling about it. They explain this to the other person. Although they have never published a book, but they got enough knowledge from you. And then they repeat it. The third party does not know that they have not published, but articulation is so good that they think this person, Sam, is also so smart. He said, you know a lot of it. You must be really smart. Now, that is where they have to just stop and think they have not done this. So they don't know enough context where this particular knowledge, the nuances that they have to apply for that particular context, they don't know. So they have to say, this is what I learned from Mitchell or wherever the source is. But I'm sure when we have put this into action, there are so many other things that I don't know. But people won't say it. They just will say, yeah.
Oh, I see it. I see it. So you're talking about why people don't share the stage.
Correct.
That's a really interesting, that by itself is a great topic. So you think, let's talk about where was your educational system Indian based, or was the educational system in the U.S.?
I learned a lot of my stuff in when I was a journalist in a local newspaper.
Okay, so it wasn't actually from school; it was from talking to other people.
Yeah, basically, what happened was when I got my first book published, it was 13 years old. There was a local newspaper. There are two of them. One is morning edition, one is evening edition. And the evening edition person, the newspaper was called Parakram, which means strength. He said, do you want to come and work for us? And then I said, yes. I learned a lot of what I know about life, writing articles. So, I wrote about 400 of them, only 60, 70 of them got published. So, but it taught me lessons about observing life and then telling what I observed in a way that's interesting to read. The whole process I learned about life and work and everything in between.
I would say that explains a lot about you. I knew this, but not from this context. So it's interesting to me to now think about you from that perspective. I would say I want to so if you go back to your education, I want to think about my education. We'll think on the fly. If I'm thinking about my education, it was, now we'll just talk to K through 12. There was a authority figure, and my fingers are double quoting in the air. There's an authority figure. And that authority figure was the teacher, and the teacher was always right. Yes. At least this is how it was. And the students were wrong. And there was also a book, and the book was always right. And you had to memorize facts in a book.
Correct.
So we weren't taught to, one, critical think, which is definitely lacking in today's world. And two, the teacher wasn't taught to share their stage.
That is correct.
Right? Because what happens now is there are some times, even in K through 12, that the student in the classroom knows more than the teacher.
That is correct.
And so the teacher needs to know that if they bring out the value, that the experience of one of their students, everyone will learn more because they're learning from a peer. And the teacher needs to accept that.
Beautifully said.
Okay, so that's kind of prescriptive. Why do you think that doesn't happen?
Actually, it does happen. If you remember, at least one or two teachers that they would have done it. Like in my case, there was a teacher called Dr. Sudhakar Samuel. He is no more now. He passed away. But I still remember that particular teacher. What a great impact they made on all the students. It was in my engineering days, and he was teaching us digital electronics. And the teacher, it's a semester, 6 months, of course. So people would, the person was started, and very first class, he said, guys, it'll take about, if you all are open to come on Saturdays, you don't have to, but we can finish these lessons in half the time. And because the teacher was so good, people said yes. And even then, people said, why would he ask us to come on Saturday? And why the hell should we finish everything in half time? But the person was really, really smart. People would come there on Saturdays. And he would use up about 4 hours on a Saturday, which is a lot because people don't even go during the weekdays to college. They'll just keep on going somewhere. And our class had 100 students. There will be 200 students in for that class. Why? Because the other sections, people will say, "Oh, Dr. Samuel is teaching. I will be there." There would be people waiting outside because there is no place inside. They'll be waiting. So what happened after those 3 months? There is still 3 months left. He brought industry experts. Like there is a tire company called Vikrant Tires. He brought the experts from there, and they said how they're using something that we learned in real life. What are all the principles? How they're using the materials and the digital electronics principles in real life, and brought videos of those equipment where this thing was being put to use. There is a paper factory. They said using digital electronics, how they make sure that the thickness of the paper is always the same. Millions of reams of paper, thickness is always the same. We learned so much in those 3 months that the entire 4 years was worth it just for attending those 6 months of class. It changed our
Wow.
life because the implementation was included. We saw the context. How does a paper factory use it? How does a tire factory use it? And we became like obsessed with that topic because the teacher was amazing. And like you said, he shared the stage with people from industries. It's amazing. So I miss him a lot.
Hmm. Huh. It seems like such a simple lesson.
Yes.
So just, cred dust. How do we spread cred dust, Raj? What should we do? I think you do this all the time. You're really good at this. How do we get more people in our networks just to want to do it? I just, I've done my best in my interviews. When I'm done with an interview, I always the last question, how do people reach out to you? And then as I'm closing the stage, I'm saying, okay, if you're watching, you're still listening, it's time to spread cred dust. It's time to click on the like button and share with your friends. Right. And that's something I do, and people always smile when I say that. And so how else do we do this? Because it's one of the 10 elements of being credible is sharing your stage.
That is so true. See, sometimes the simplest things, Mitchell, are like rocket science for people. So by sharing the stage, they don't lose anything, but they give a gift of, I would say, capacity. Like you're sharing the stage here, you're sharing your network, making the people know about somebody they should know. By making the people know about this new person, they are not becoming less. They are actually an amplifying force.
Yes.
So the concept of a zero sum game is so ingrained in people that they forget that the opposite of a zero-sum game is a game where we increase the size of the pie.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch topics for a little bit because I did something really interesting yesterday, and I want to get your opinion, your feedback on this. So I do on uh, YouTube once a week. I do a show called Dear Credibility Expert,
Mm.
and 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 what I started doing recently is I go live and I record. I answer as many questions as I can, but typically it turns out to be one. I answer as many questions as I can, and in 10 minutes or less. And like I said, it's typically one. And so I answered a question. I answered a question yesterday,
Mm.
and the person who asked was a guy by the name of Brilliant Miller. He's one of the Marshall Goldsmith's 100 coaches.
Oh.
And the question he asked was, what do people do either on stage or in person to immediately hurt or erode their credibility? And it was a fun question to be thinking about. And I'd be curious your thoughts on that one.
Uh, I would say, I mean, I get so many thoughts, but you asked for one.
I know. Where do you? I know it's a broad question. Where do you start?
Yes, yes. See, I would say that many times, even on the stage, if they are not the right person to answer that question, I would rather them say that is not in my area of expertise. I can say some things, but I don't think I want to do it. I'll pass, and then I'll find somebody. If I know someone, I'll actually help them get connected. I'll just refuse or just not make up things. So when somebody on the stage are making up things, it's that's where they start losing credibility because there are experts on the off the stage. They're watching, and they just when somebody tries to get away with making up things, I think that's something that's like my pet peeve because I say everybody knows that. I mean, at least some people know, and it's bad behavior in my opinion.
Mm. So that's another good question. Thank you for bringing up another value of credibility, which is vulnerability. Why are
Uh,
we taught not to be vulnerable? I mean, how do we get over that?
See, there is vulnerability is a double-edged sword, in my opinion. So basically, there is a professor Jeffrey Pfeffer. So he has done some research about on power. So vulnerability expressed in the wrong place can hurt. Vulnerability expressed in the right place can help. So to be very discerning of where to show and where to what extent they should show is a judgment call. So I was surprised with this research. His new book called Seven Laws of Power or something, where he was answering a question about vulnerability, and he clearly said, in a large company, at a wrong place, you express your vulnerability. So there is competition. There's only one CEO, and there's only n number of VPs or EVPs, and only n number of SVPs. So you think by being authentic and vulnerable, everybody will play a fair game. But in his research, he found that they don't. They use that as a weapon against you so that they can get ahead of you. So that's like you and I will think, how can this happen? And he said that's what everybody will say because it should not happen, but it happens all the time. So you have to guard your territory in the sense if it's a large company like Fortune 500 or something, the only way is to be careful what you show and what you unnecessarily explaining. These are the 16 things that I'm not good at. Is extra information, TMI, they say, too much information, which is not required. So it all depends on the context, according to Professor Pfeffer.
So in that scenario, by the way, I know it happens in this world where we're taught that we win and we win alone, that somebody has to be on the top versus we win as a team.
I agree.
Hmm.
He said about there was a question about Jim Collins and the level 5 leadership, and then how the level 5 leaders are different. And Dr. Pfeffer was very almost brutal. He said Jim Collins and he are good friends, and then he said to come up with the level 5 leadership, he talked to 14 CEOs. That's too small a sample size. Those are all exceptions. So it was very, very. I know how you and I, if we were in the audience, Mitchell, how we will feel. We'll be cringing in our seats that this is not happening. But he said the research is very clear. So it's a capitalistic world, and this is the way it works. So I'm just saying it as it is. I don't agree with it, but you and I are not working for a Fortune 500 company. So we just I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
I'm not subscribing to that concept.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So by the way, I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'll let you let us know what's happening in your life and things you're working on. So it was about 2 weeks ago. I was brought on a 10-city radio tour.
Oh, radio tour.
Oh, it was so cool, by the way. It was, the good news is I try to keep Monday mornings open and Fridays open, right? And so this was a Monday morning, you know, um, uh, session, and the it was Oxford University and Reuters Institute did a survey, and they surveyed 93,000 people out of 46 countries. And the focus was, do you trust the news? And so I'll give you a couple statistics, which still blow me away. The country of the 46 countries which had the most trust of the news was Finland. And in Finland, it was 69%. Now, I know, and I'm thinking 69. Why isn't it 100? Anyhow, but that's a different story. And the country with the least trust of the news for the second year in a row was the United States. And it was at 26%.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and so there were very interesting questions. And the some of it is why is this? How do we fix it? And the best thing I want to do is I want to answer the why we fix it and then get your opinion on it. Or how to fix it. And there was a word I'd always so when somebody would say, how do we fix it? I would use a word, and I know it was a longer word. I said, we need to be discerning. Right? We need to be curious. We need to have questions. We need to, when we hear something, we can't just automatically accept it. And not only that, so many people will forward an article without reading it just because the subject is something they think is controversial, and they want to be the first to share it with their network. And we need to stop doing that.
Correct. So, shall I share some of my thoughts, Mitchell?
Yes, please.
First of all, I don't watch news. I don't watch news since 1997. So, because I used to be a journalist, remember? worked as a journalist for 3 years.
Yes.
I learned one thing, Mitchell, is the job of the news people is to continue to keep the attention of people who are consuming news. That's all is the first priority, because only then they get money. Otherwise, they have existential crisis. So what do? Like you said, drama, sensation, fear, anything that will make people want to stay on the news. So in fact, the people say, we'll take a break now, but don't go away. Just we'll be back. What do you mean? You will take a break and I'll not take a break? So why would I not do that? Because you want me to continue to watch these advertisements. Because if everybody takes a break, when they take a break, they will break down. So I always think, who benefits? Qui bono. That's the thing. In a crime scene, people ask, who benefits? When attention is stolen in broad daylight, it's a crime. At that time, we ask, who benefits? It's the news people. As long as you give them your attention, they benefit. Not the person who is consuming news, because think about news. What is news? News is all the exceptions that are happening in this world. It's never what is real that it's happening. Nobody will make news with our conversation here, Mitchell. It's boring for people. But if you start...
Oh, I don't know. I always love listening to you, Raj. I don't think you're boring at all.
No, it's super boring for other people to report back but think of it this way. Suddenly you start calling me names and I start calling you names. Then it becomes interesting. These two people were supposed to be friends. Raj is calling names, so Mitchell is calling. There's something, drama is going on, please come and join. Suddenly it becomes famous. Why? Because it's an exception. It does not happen.
So why don't we then present more good news? Right?
Because
That's not
boring. Because what happens is there's something called schadenfreude or something. When there is some misery that is happening, which is all over the place, your own misery becomes less misery. It's all related. So people continue to spread these things. Most of the time in news, we can't do anything about it. But a better one is every single minute we spend watching news, people would rather spend time listening to their neighbors or caring for somebody that they can do something about. This world will solve most of the problems.
So you think people feel better by watching other people's misery?
There is a documented evidence that the only way people will feel good when they are feeling bad is to see there are other people who are feeling in more disastrous conditions. So they say, you know what, I should be thankful because my case is not that bad. So that's the way at least majority of them think. So news is a shortcut where there'll be enough things that are happening all over the world. There's shooting here, there's war there. So it's a sad story. Because remember, Mitchell, most of the time don't take time to reflect. Because it's looking at the mirror is the hardest thing for people to do.
Huh. That's interesting.
The self-awareness is at the all-time low, because where is the time to be self-aware? Because there's so much news to consume.
That's interesting. Do you think so? That seems like, is that the biggest trigger that you see? Self-awareness being at an all-time low is a very fascinating, and Rajesh, I don't think I've actually heard anyone say that. I mean, I know, I don't think I've heard people say that before. That's really fascinating.
Because you cannot be self-aware unless how does somebody become aware of anything? Is to watch, observe, and learn. For you to watch, observe, and learn yourself, you need to take time for yourself.
Mm.
Every waking moment, there is bombarded with stuff. Look at this. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. You just watch just open your smartphone. There is enough stuff coming there. Go to Quora. There is enough stuff. Go to Medium. There is stuff. Open the TV. There is stuff. It's always this. I'd say people are surrounded by drama, entertainment, advertisements, and distractions. So an acronym called DEAD. People are surrounded by DEAD.
Wait, say that again.
Drama, entertainment, advertisements, and distractions.
Oh my. Yeah. So wait. Are you actually saying people are living dead?
They're just surrounded by dead stuff.
Surrounded by dead.
Yes. They have to, imagine if somebody, think about it. Why would Netflix release every single episode in binge-watchable fashion? Because there are people who are wanting to binge-watch it. If nobody was willing to do it, they will never release it. I have a simple rule, Mitchell. Any major series that's happening, I'll watch the first 10 minutes of the first episode and the last 10 minutes of the last episode. I'm caught up. Socially, I can enter any conversation. People are talking about it, and I'll take them to a place where I have enough knowledge, and then I'll drag them and make sure that everybody knows that I'm current. Because you have to stand out by belonging, where you are to continue to belong. Otherwise, you will be cancelled. So how do you belong? Without spending the time it takes to belong. You just have enough information that you can have a reasonably interesting conversation. So they think he's like one of us. Okay, now I can belong.
All right, I'm. By the way, I'm typing down because I wanted to put into LinkedIn. So drama, entertainment, advertisements, and
distractions.
Distractions.
It's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah. How do we fix that? That's an interesting. So people are surrounded by dead. Okay, that's not positive.
And people are not even aware of it because there is. See, what has also happened, Mitchell, is the art of storytelling has gone to a whole new level. Where people are extremely good at storytelling, but people are not aware that they're being seduced by powerful storytellers across everywhere. So they think they're playing the part. No, they're being played. There's a very subtle difference between playing and being played.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. I want to switch to something positive because like my soul is being sucked out by this. Like, so what's happening in your life? What you always have something really cool or many cool things happening at the same time. What new and I'm just going to say credible. What new credible things are you bringing to the world or working on right now?
See, I was working on a concept. I always believe that when good people get good help, great things will happen in this world. This is my fundamental belief. The good people lack good help to make amazing things. So if I can help them get good help, then amazing things will happen. So why will people not get help? Because many of them are not helpable. They come in their own way to get the help they need. So I started working on it, and then I said, what does it mean to be helpable? Is few things. One is they should deserve before they can desire. They should be ready to receive the help. They should be willing to put the effort when they receive that help. Like somebody comes and they want to write a book and you give them the information, they should be able to put that information, actually write a book. Or if they should not come and find an excuse and say, Michelle, it's all very good. Thank you so much for spending 1 hour with me. But guess what? I'm going to put this as a New Year plan for next year. And you'll think, why the hell did you use my time? He said, no, but everything is good, but I'm busy or something.
Oh, by the way, I don't think that when that happens, but I hear you.
I know that's because you are a different class of people that you factor that in, and you're also helping people with a smile, and you are okay that people come next year, and you have the patience. Most people don't, right? So here's the thing. So that's what, and then I make it easy for person to give the help.
I
So
want to
those are
say,
the,
by the way, I just want to say, Daniel Levin, happy to have you in the house. And if you want to join the stage, just raise your hand. I'll definitely invite you to speak. I'd love to have you. Keep
very
going,
good.
Raj. I'm sorry.
So basically, three things. One is they make it easy for the people to help them, and second, they deserve before they desire, and then they actually follow through, and then it they make it good for the person to help them. That's what I came up with. And then my friend Sterling, he said this thing is not good. I said, why? Because this is what happens. Because I just go break down things into smallest elements, and then I explain people. I said, what is wrong, Sterling? He said, the name. Name is really bad. I said, why? He said, nobody is coming and searching that how to increase my helpability. It does not get into
People
heads.
don't. Yeah, I know. I love the acronym HELP, but people are not asking for it, right?
Yeah, people, and also people don't want to think that they're wrong. They just, it's not good. So
Yes.
basically, we changed the name, and I'm now working on a good asks project.
Good asks.
Yeah, good asks.
Oh,
So
I
basically,
love
I
that.
say, because it's actually credit to Sterling. Like we said, I want to give the stage to him, because he is the one who said, you make it so easy to talk about it. You say, you're not getting help because you're making bad asks. Why don't you make a bad ask to a good ask, and you get. And then I go back and break down the good asks into what all things are there. And I have a framework now. So people
Nice.
can think, was it a good ask? Let me see. Click, click, click. They go through it. And then if not, everything is there. They just make it a good ask, and then they'll see results.
I like a good. Actually, I'm going to make a good ask of Daniel Levin. Daniel, thanks for joining the stage. Nice to. It's been too long. Do you want to come up and say hi?
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I remember Rajesh. Daniel Levin is one of those guys you get on a call with him and it like immediately goes to deep.
Daniel Levin.
Rajesh and I know each other. We love each other.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. Oh, I would have expected that. Good. I should have expected that.
Daniel is the modern Buddha. That's how I think about it.
Maybe just in size of belly. That was
no, you can't get away with it. I know how powerful you are. So you're just one of the smartest people, wisest people I know. And it's an honor to share the stage with you.
Well, I saw the two of you, and I realized that you're both people that I deeply love, and I haven't seen you or spoken to you in a long time. And so I thought, why in the heck don't I just go into this room? I don't have a whole lot of time, but I miss both of you. And so to have two birds come with one heart is easy to do then. So I love both of you. And Mitch, I hope I see you doing things on LinkedIn, and Rajesh, every once in a while you pop up in front of me, but I miss you, brother. I hope everything is good. I hope life is good, and I hope you're still writing on napkins.
Oh, yeah. See, you remember everything. That is so kind of you. And then when you are in the Bay Area, we should all meet.
Oh, I would love that.
I would love that. So anyway, just thank you for all that you both are doing, and thank you for the honor of giving a little piece of the space that you are to me right now here. So I thank you for that.
Oh,
Daniel, you have to share something that what is that we should be seeing that we are not? Are there things that we should be seeing based on what you know that we are not seeing? Anything will help.
So I can't say anything about what you should see. I can only tell you what I need to see in myself. And
I was gonna reword that question, Rajesh. Yes, please, Daniel. What is it that you see in the world? And actually, by the way, Reem, actually, I'm going to say Reem just put something in the comment. I just thought I'd share. What she said, it's all about asking the right question in the right tone. It doesn't matter what will be the answer.
I think she said right time, but not tone. But tone would also be right as well, I think.
Oh, right. She did say at the right time. Thank you for correcting my. I'm like, wait, where are my glasses? Yes, you're right. It just say tone. By the way, when I read tone, what I thought she meant was creating a safe environment. That's why I thought tone was okay. But yeah, you're right. Right question, right time. Thank you.
So I think the tone also is important.
Tone is also totally.
Because tone is what determines between a request and a demand.
Yes. So for me, if there is something that I am, I'm not great at answering questions because I just feel like people have the right to find their own answers. But because you asked them, because I'm here, and because you're asking about what I need to see, I think more and more, this is what I'm feeling more and more and more and more and more, that how much I'm in my own way. And how much, if I were just to allow myself to align with those things that are happening around me, and align with the processes that are there in front of me, the unprocesses that are there, that my life is sort of like a leaf on a river. It's effortless for it to move. But when I get in my own way and I build a ship and and it's, I don't know, I feel like for me, the biggest thing right now is getting out of my own way.
This is so profound, Daniel.
Daniel, why do you think that is? Why do you think, is it because it was ingrained, indoctrinated what other people say, or is it? And there's so many other things. Something inside. Is there a saboteur? Why do you think you're getting in your own way?
I think that for me, at least, I've grown up in a world where it was important to be important. It was important to know my purpose, to do my work, to get out there and make something of the life that I was given and giving as well. And as I get older, and that's happening very quickly, one of the things that I'm finding is almost more of a Taoist way of looking at things, that the world is perfect without anything happening to it. And the more that I can attune to the perfection of what actually is in front of me, we're about to do a big conference for the Department of Civil Rights in America, and they're bringing lots of different committees for the department and the Department of Civil Rights to hear us for 45 minutes with the thought that if they like us, then they'll bring us on to do work with their own individual places. And it's so interesting because the natural inclination that I have is, well, they're going to need a PowerPoint. The way they see things are going to be this way, and we want to be able to give them good information. And I sat in with my wife and a good friend of mine, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm preparing this talk that we're going to give to this. This is an important conversation to have." And he said, "But that's not at all who you are. Why would you go away from who you are, which is you are just this beautiful, loving presence that holds space for people to be able to discover things on their own. And you are an unprocessed. You're not a process. And the charm of you is the magic that happens when you allow that unprocessed to unfold. And I listened to them and I said, oh my God, thank you so much for that input, because that is exactly right. And so the presentation that we are having is all about how we get in alignment, how we trust in the unprocessed, how we allow the silence to speak, how we what really are. Do we really build trust with the words that we say? Maybe, probably a little bit. But I believe the presence that we show up with is what gives trust to people and what people trust. And I know when I hold space for people and I'm able to just be like a window, unseen. The beauty of a window is that you see through it to what's outside of the window. You don't see the window if it's a beautiful window. And too much of the time I was taught, you need to look at the window, because how will people hire you, or how will they work with you, or how will they value you if you're not valuable or you're not seen? But there's so many people that are doing so much of that. The beauty for me right now is when you see you, not you see me. And how do I hold the space for you to be able to see you, for you to take risks, for you to be able to fall down, for you to be safe, to know that you can fall down and get up, to know that you're going to be loved and accepted and listened to and heard and seen and acknowledged. And I've watched when I do that process with people, which is an unprocessed, it's not really anything. It's just, how easy is it to see somebody who's standing right in front of you versus to make pretend they're not there? How easy is it to listen to somebody rather than to not listen to them? How easy is it to love them rather than to not love them? I mean, it's just easy. It doesn't take anything. It's the easiest thing in the world. And yet, when I watch, when people feel loved and accepted, listened to and heard, and seen and acknowledged, their walls come down. And when their walls come down, that's when real intimacy happens. Into me see. They allow me to see into them, and I allow them to see into me. And can't explain the process of what happens, but all I know is when those walls come down, all the blessings that have been waiting on the other side of those walls want to be given to the person that's been blocking them with those walls, come pouring in. And suddenly people feel new relationships happening, new business opportunities, innovation in the way they do business, new ways of seeing things that they haven't been able to see before. And it has nothing to do with anybody except the fact that someone held space. Space is so much more important than words. Space.
I love it, Daniel. Mitchell and Daniel, they have like 1 more minute. I can add on to what Daniel is saying.
Sure, Rajesh. And then Daniel, thank you, and I'll comment as well.
Please.
I want to go to this person. His name is Edgar Mitchell. You probably know who he is. He's in the Apollo 14 mission. He was the sixth person to spend time on moon. He was there for 9 hours. And when he was returning, Apollo 14, at some point, the spaceship turned, and then from that vantage point, Edgar Mitchell could see the sun, moon, and the earth in one line. Because there is a place where you can see that. And then he said, interesting, isn't it? And the space to see all these three celestial objects in one line. And he said, this all, I'm just adding something color to it. And if you go back further back from the same vantage point in the same back, you can see that at certain distance, all of them will become one. Sun, moon, and earth. It will no longer be different. It will be one dot, isn't it? So, and then you pick another vantage point where somebody else, let's say they were there and they were seeing the Apollo 14 and the sun, moon, and earth, they'll all be in one plane. And then you go further back, at certain distance, it will become all one. If you apply this further, you know that we are all one. from a far enough distance with there is Mitchell, Daniel, and Rajesh. But in reality, we are all one. So if once you get this deep in our DNA, then there is no fighting. Why would it's like a right hand fighting against the liver? Just does not make sense.
Daniel, I forgot how much fun it was to talk to you. So, and Raj, yes, I want to comment, if you don't mind, Raj, on
Yes.
on what Daniel said, and it's kind of simple. It's simple and powerful, and not easy.
Correct.
And Raj, this goes back to the beginning of the conversation where we talk about the fact that people don't want to spread cred dust. They don't feel vulnerable holding space, being open. And Daniel, there was only one thing that you didn't say when you were saying all the things that are important for a human, to open the space, to allow them to be them, to allow them to essentially be the servant leaders of others they were meant to be, to do the intent and commitment to do the right thing, to be able to be coachable, to be authentic. The only thing that was missing is to allow them to be credible. So I'm just thinking, dude, you're speaking my language, and that is the 10 values associated with being credible are all the things that you were echoing in your conversation. And I just want to say thank you. And I the quote I put in for you in LinkedIn that I think is the quote that I will carry with me and use often and give you attribution. So I will spread your cred dust. This is the quote from Daniel 11 that I got from that. The best thing we can do for somebody else is to hold space for them to be who they really can be. That was amazing. Oh, and we lost Daniel. He got on the phone and the phone disappeared. So
it is a very, very nice quote. And just to add what Dr. Mark Goulston said about listening. So when you truly listen, the other person feels felt. And it's the same thing that Daniel said it so beautifully. It's giving the space. And add Dr. Goulston's quote on listening is, how do we know if the other person feels felt?
So I was gonna. This is sometimes we go a little bit over an hour. I know Frank Pepper's in the room. Frank, if you wanted to say hello, raise your hand. Otherwise, I was going to let Raj and I just finish up. Reem, thanks for following me. I will, when I set up the meeting for next week, I'll invite you as a speaker, and I would love to have you because, sometimes when somebody makes a comment, and it actually only has to be one. Right. And if the comment is particularly focused on something so powerful, you're like, oh, wait a second. Who is this person? Where they come from? And then you look at their profile and you go, aha, I know where that person came from. And I know why we're connected today. And so I am honored to have you do that. And Frank Pepper, thanks for joining us and being here. Just for those who are, once again, I'm just going to hold this to the screen. For those who are watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, I am using this is the coolest thing. I'm using my iPad. The sound is coming from the iPad. It's coming from Clubhouse. So if you want to join us next week, and the primary focus is for you as a leader. And by the way, even if you're a leader of yourself, you are a leader. You need to take control, not be a follower. You need to not pay attention to the script that the world is giving you and pay attention to your script. And so you as a leader, how do you live your values? And I want you to live those values in such a way that you actually truly are doing good, that you're adding value to the world. Rajesh, I'm so interested in the good ask and what you're doing in there, because I want people to make the good ask. I want people to say, hey, listen, I need, whether they say I need help or if they say, hey, I'm doing something, I'd like to share this. One of the things my subtle ask was come and join me on the YouTube channel. It's Credibility Nation, and come and ask a credibility question. As a matter of fact, the coolest thing, Raj, I'd love you to do this too. Do a quick video, like with a question. And what'll happen is I'll answer it, and we'll answer it live, and then my team will do their magic with all the other fun stuff, and then I'll post you on the channel. I've got 51 answers. I think I've done 57 so far, but I have 51 on the YouTube channel, and they are a powerful 10-minute slot. Can I give you a warning? This is the warning most people. So, by the way, we talked about binge watching. The warning was, I remember friends who sent me a note, Mitchell, I can't believe you did this. I just watched 20 of your sessions. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Hey, Rajesh, how would you like to summarize this session?
There is so much that I got out of it, and I did not know this question and answer, and I'm going to do a quick visit there, and then I won't binge watch, I promise.
Sorry, you said that. You said you watched the first 10 minutes and last 2 minutes. Well, by the way, that's 2 episodes, so that's great.
This is so fascinating. I'm so glad you did this, and then I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're not following Rajesh Sethi on social media, which is the social media that you spend the most? Is it LinkedIn, or where do you spend the most time and energy?
Actually, I share a few things on LinkedIn and Twitter, both of them, and very little time I spend, Mitchell. I'm just like popping in, sharing it, and then if there is anything I can do to help someone, I'll do it and then run away from that.
So probably better than just to go to your website?
I think LinkedIn and Twitter are good. So where I share some things. Like I recently shared, it is meaningless to look for ROI from relationships where there is no JOI, which is joy of interaction.
Oh, yeah. It's always fun. You have such beautiful words in terms of how you share and what you do. Joy of interaction. Actually, that is so powerful. Yeah. Why there is no ROI if there's no JOI. Yes. Dude, that's awesome. Do you have a post on that I could share?
Yeah, it's on Twitter, which is I'll send you. Where should I shall post it in the comments on LinkedIn? Or...
Yeah. Why don't you do that, and then I'll reshare it as well. And at some point in time, if you want to, we could do a live session talking about that. That just seems like we could expand on that for. We could easily cover that in 20 minutes, right? I mean, I try to keep it shorter, but I just think, oh, thanks for this. Yeah, I just so see. Anyhow, if you're not following this guy, you have to. Raj has been able to do exactly what Danny says, and Raj actually really is his CPOP, game changers wanting their secret sauce. He sets the stage, he creates the safe space, and then pokes and asks a couple questions and allows the person on the other side to find their secret sauce. And I'm just going to thank you for your contribution to the world, Rajesh Sethi.
Thanks to you. I came to that session on CPOP and I got a gold mine. So thanks to you.
Well, I'm going to say yes, but it was always you. I just helped you say it in a shorter time frame.
I knew that something amazing will happen. That's why I said, please record this session, because I know something amazing will happen. And it did.
All right. So anyhow, for those that are here, thanks for joining us today. This is every Saturday. It's just it really is a safe space to come and play. If you want to officially be listed as a speaker on Clubhouse, just reach out and ask. I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, come to the room and talk during the middle of it. And for those who want to show up on video, today was just me on video, and I don't mind because people can then live by my expressions when others talk. If you want to show up on video, we do broadcast live on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And then questions and comments typically come in from social media as well. I just want to say thanks for watching, paying attention, and living in the world where, what did you say, Raj? We don't necessarily pay attention to the news, the dead news, and you pay attention to living. And I want to request that all of us, that we get ready. We get ready for two things in life. Obviously, we need to get ready for when we die. But I want to ask you and leave this final thought with you. I would love you to get ready to live. Anyhow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to end the broadcast first on social, and then we'll